You have 4 minutes and I'll tell you one.
Good evening, councillors. This is just very clearly an opportunist application based upon the fact that the borough does not have an adequate land supply. This is a site which has previously been rejected on a number of occasions. It cuts across any form of local involvement in its planning, even though the village has begun to do its own neighbourhood plan. It's had no chance to complete that process. And it cuts across the principle of protection of the AONB, that there should not be major developments in the AONB unless there are exceptional circumstances. And there are no exceptional circumstances. Let me deal with the land supply question. The local plan is almost finished. It comes out of consultation this week. That local plan, assuming it goes forward, will adequately deal with the question of land supply. And even if it doesn't, there was a list of other sites eminently more suitable than this one for alternative development. But we're told it cannot be taken into consideration. Well, I would just like to query that, because the judicial review, of which we're all very familiar, stated that there should never be very high Chinese walls between the planning and the landowning sides of the council. And we all, as councillors, know that we have agreed and voted for many down to be developed, and that is proceeding going forward. Therefore, we know that there will be housing within the next 5 years, which will more than adequately make up for this amount of shortfall of housing, were there to be any. Therefore, I would ask you to consider whether or not this argument is actually sustainable, that there isn't an adequate five-year land supply. But putting that to one side, what is more fundamentally worrying about this is that this application has got nothing to do with what local people want. It's got nothing to do with the good of the community. It's got nothing to do with protecting the environment in which this village sits in the AONB. Even the developers, by bringing forward alternative sites, have actually accepted that one of the applications they're putting forward tonight isn't really very good, and there's a better one that they're asking you to look at. This site was declared unsustainable by the inspector looking at our local plan in 1995. It was declared unsustainable by another inspector in 2005 looking at it, on the grounds of limited local services. Since 2005, bus routes have been curtailed, the schools are now full, and it's all very well to talk about Section 106 agreements to allocate extra space in the schools. How do you build extra space in a school which hasn't got any space on which to build? And it's all very well talking about changing catchment areas. Where are these other schools that they're supposed to go to? It doesn't hang together. Equally, nobody's mentioned tonight the sewage. Every now and then we get an outpouring of sewage in the village because the sewage system cannot cope. There is no indication how this sewage system is going to cope. And by the way, where are the conditions, if this were to be accepted, which would contain them? They were requested by Thames Water. The site is still unsustainable. The development is not wanted, it's not needed, it's not practical, but we could be landed with that all because a theoretical loophole because of the 5-year land supply. Do we really want to endorse poor development in the wrong place at the wrong time before the local people have had a chance to determine what they want for the future simply because of a loophole? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.